Welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu, and I'm always talking about freedom, time, financial, location, health, freedom. And I'm always scouring the globe looking for entrepreneurs, doing things on the cutting edge and making an impact. So today we have Dave Forman, and he's a web design and digital marketing expert. I'm always fascinated with web, online entrepreneurs, digital marketing, social media marketing, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, Dave, welcome.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Doc. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. Tech is so scalable, and I'm always interested in innovation. Tell people about yourself, your background, and how you got started.
Yeah. So I co-founded my digital marketing agency in 2011. So it's been 12 plus years of doing my own thing. I used to work in the retail world. You bring up a good point. I was stuck doing. I was a manager, and there was the corporate ladder, but it just felt like I was just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. It was just like, you just moved from office to office to office, and so. I kind of hit my ceiling and frustration and jumped off, and always had a passion for development and coding. It was a hobby of mine, and did a little like boot camp course to kind of test and see, like, is it really something I like to do? Loved it. I like every time I had like homework, I was like excited to do it. And I was like, all right, I gotta leave the corporate life and do my own thing. So joined, started my business, and just really just started to use some my passion to to help grow other entrepreneurs, small businesses, get their visibility out there. And I love it because it changes every week, every month, but it's always something new and always something to grow with.
Yeah, yeah, and it's fascinating. It's like once people like either people stay in corporate because they're good at it and they can play these games, or once you realize it's just like you got to go out on your own, then it's like, and then you start to. Interesting thing is, so you have a lot of expertise in website SEO. You have UI UX. So we'll just get started and talk about why business owners should maximize what you call GBP, which you'll talk about, and shouldn't be spending that time on their own website.
So Google Business Profile, also called Google My Business, at some point was called Google Places and Google Local. They've changed the name of it 50,000 times. But what I am talking about is when you use probably Google, which 85% of all searchers are using at this point, you're going to get, like, when you search for a doctor or a podiatrist or a chiropractor, whatever you might be searching for, up comes that map pack where you usually get 3 or 4 little map icons and some suggestions around you. That is actually in theory separate from your website, and that is your Google My Business or Google Business Profile that shows up there. And what's really cool is that you can add to it. You can actually like kind of enhance it and make it stand out, right? Because it's competitive in its own space, even a little bit more different from your website. And what's really cool about it is, I would say like 90% of the time when people are searching for usually a high, intent keyword, it actually shows up before, your website. So it's just a really great place to be. We would just advise, if you're going to go in there, it's yours, you can own it. You can also hire, a marketing company to market it. But there's plenty of things that, you can do if you're getting started that, can really hit a few home runs. So like adding photos to it, you can make sure your category is correct. Like, i.e., if you're a chiropractor, you want your main primary category to be a chiropractor, not maybe just a doctor. So that way you show up when somebody's searching, for similar terms like that. You can, adding the images. There's Google Posts, which are kind of socialist, but you can, kind of put in some notes and stuff, which is kind of cool. There's another thing called Q&A that actually you can ask questions on, that anybody can ask questions and you can answer them. So it just kind of helps to give some visibility. And again, these are just little things that you can just do on, let's say, like a weekly or monthly basis to give Google an understanding who you are, where you are, and that you have a pulse.
Yeah. And yeah, what's interesting is like basically, it's basically Google is like, it's the engine for getting found, and everybody starts with, how to, or I like your analogy with high intent keyword. Essentially, they're gonna, they want to do something with that. And a lot of the audience heard of SEO. Some of the we've had guests on the past, but tell us what goes into SEO, how to optimize it, and where to use it.
Yeah, yeah, and SEO is a really buzzy word, but at the same point, it really what it is. It's going back to the UX UI, right? User experience. It's really how Google is experiencing your website, understanding who you are and what you do, right? And all really, I would get SEO to really be understood as in trust. You're building trust in your space and who you are and what you are, and you are trying to build trust with Google so that they trust you for that search phrase, for what they're looking for, right? So if you think of it like that, now you're a little more intent on writing more content on a website, putting pictures that make a little bit more sense, and that really is all that goes into it's the simple summary of SEO, right? Is really doing the things to build trust, to build understanding within Google, which has there's a terminology that is a little more on the technical side, but it's that expertise, authority, and trust is a big ranking signal that Google wants, because as physicians, as doctors, right? If you're talking about something, Google wants to make sure that you are an expert, that you maybe do have that you are an MD, or that you have some credentials that go with it. And it can do that by you putting that information out there that's well written, well done. And once it starts to understand that, you begin to rank a little bit more, and you begin to get more visibility. And that's really what that's the benefits of SEO. But that's like more of like the, I don't know, I'll call it the meta version of SEO, less on like the, put a title, put this, put that, because like on paper, that all kind of comes when are really like putting the best content out there.
Yeah. And I love it because basically, all you have to do is you create your message or your content, and the more niche down, the more specific you get, the better. And then basically all these algorithms, all the social media, basically they match that content with whoever's searching for things. So it's very, very powerful, very efficient way of sorting out the market. So we'll talk about that. And then one thing is this idea with the website UX, website maintenance, and favorites like hacks or software tools, redesigning your website. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, when it comes to UX, UI, when it comes to, how people are experiencing your website, maybe this is going to sound crazy, but don't overthink this, right? Figure out what you like, what type of again, we'll go into the physicians, right? We got physicians listening. We got to speak to the physicians. If you're a physician, figure out, how do you want to appear, but look in your space, right? Other doctors in, California, doctors in Texas, see what they look like, and have a idea on they usually have a picture of the doctor, a picture of the medical facility, some descriptions about the services that they do, a little about, which usually has like a guy in a coat. And on paper, yes, it's cool that maybe you showed a picture of you and your dog, out at the park. But you got to remember, if somebody just visited 3 other websites and they're looking for a doctor and they're seeing a guy, with a dog, that might not speak to what they're expecting. So it's sometimes you have to kind of pull yourself out of the, what do I want, or what do somebody that's visiting your website want, right? So when you're, planning and building towards that, it could be really good. We talked about like tips and tools and things. So let's say you already have a website and you're like, I don't know, are things going well, things not going well? There's some really cool tools that you can actually put onto your website. I'll use one called Hotjar. We use it for testing from time to time to see how people are experiencing your site, right? They give you a little bit of code, they walk you through it. There's couple little steps. But once you do it, they'll I think it's like they have a free version. It says it'll last forever, which is really cool. They'll give you 35 recordings of how people are experiencing your website. So you could see, like a heat map, like where people are clicking. Oh my goodness, I have a picture of an icon that I don't even have going anywhere, and 3 people clicked it yesterday. Well, that's a miss, right? But it's things like that just to understand that you can get, or they even have screen recordings that you can see, and they do some privacy stuff, which is cool. You don't see necessarily stuff that they might be typing in, but you're able to see, where they scroll. Do they scroll? Where do they go? Where does it seem like that you lose them? Maybe everybody goes down to the footer. Oh, I don't have my phone number in the footer. That'd probably be a good place to put it. So you could begin to start using tools like that to help you out. You don't have to be a developer or technical genius to do this stuff. You just have to be curious and to see what others are doing.
Yeah, which leads us to this whole area where we're getting into Web3 and then AI as well. For the audience, kind of Web3 is kind of this new term that some of the audience isn't familiar with. So expand upon that if you could.
Well, you said Web3. My business partner's in the adjoining office. I'm sure he just probably heard that. Is probably going to want to run over here, and he will take the rest of this time to talk about Web3. He's much more into it than I am. I'm tangentially aware of Web3, and really what Web3 is really using the blockchain, right? And okay, that's another technical term, but what it is, it's a public ledger that exists for showing proof, for showing information, but it's a standard that's out there, right? So California is, I believe, testing out the first public blockchain for storing, I believe, car titles. I think it's California. I hope I'm quoting on that one correctly. But let's think about doctors, right? Doctors have medical records. Doctors have things that could be stored. That wouldn't it be great if we were able to share it amongst people in a secure and way that could give proper rights? Maybe it's for insurance or to know what is. And if I held a certain thing, and what it is, it's just in a public place. So that is the short way to put it. So instead of it being in a database, it's on this known as public ledger, and it uses a lot of technology, and it can be very secure. It's very well done. I don't necessarily think it's ready for like the non-technical user quite yet. However, there are some Web3 things that I think we're going to start interacting with that we're not even going to know is part of the blockchain. And I think it'll slowly become part of, how we do things.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because, not to get into technicals, but just some of the core thesis is that, you own your own identity. You don't have to, you won't have like login and passwords which get hacked. You own your data as well. So if you're a social media influencer, you can go direct through to your customer without usually through non-fungible tokens or some sort of token. But it's like
well, like right. It's those things, right? It's like, cool. Maybe you're a doctor and you want to have like a subscription, right? And you can give 30 of these NFTs, right? I know it's a positive and negative thing, but it's no difference in like a membership, right? But it's putting it in a different place, and there's people there that are very interested in being a part of it. So that could be even a clientele that you can even talk to and can invite in, right? By just offering this thing up. And I think at some point it becomes a standard, but it's probably just going to be renamed at some point.
Yeah, and like I said, the medical profession, it's going through its growing, I would say growing pains, but it's trying to slowly incorporate all these principles. I'm also curious about where you see artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and how this plays out, in for creators, entrepreneurs, marketers.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I definitely went down the ChatGPT rabbit hole, right? I mean, at this point, who hasn't? I've thrown a lot of things at it, right? I've tested a lot of things over the last few months. It's been really cool. I mean, it's been awesome. A few things, I'll share. If you have a chance to use it, just use it. Just play around with it. It's really cool because you can ask questions of things and get things. Now, I think there should be a big warning as soon as you get to it that really just says, just to let you know, ChatGPT thinks it's right all the time. And it's not. And as soon as you kind of know that, you'll know that what you get from it, you might need to research or look into it. But it's very sure of itself, which can be a blessing and a curse. But it's really good at solving problems. It's good at kind of finding solutions that maybe you didn't think you needed. But more importantly, it is more of like, I would call it more of an assistant than it is. And we also have to remember it's built on, and right now all AI, it doesn't find new things. It's everything that was given to it. It was fed, right? That's how it works. So it's not like it comes up with anything. So, but if it doesn't know anything, it's going to try to figure something out. But one of the really cool parts is, especially for maybe a doctor or an entrepreneur or small business, it's not necessarily asking to have it write a medical journal for you, right? Or have you pass a medical exam. It's hit or miss, right? If that stuff's going to be accurate or not. But what's really cool is that you can use it in your everyday life, social media, right? Let's say you wrote a post and you can have it run through Chat GPT and say, hey, can you make this more salesy? Can you make this more fun? Can you make this more entertaining? Hey, can you reword this so it's I don't know, perfect for Halloween or something. I don't know. You can like change tone and everything, and it will output things for you. So it's really good when you give it something and it can kind of make stuff happen for you that way. And so like we use it sometimes. I'll use it to, I'm making 15 headlines and I get 10 headlines in and I'm like, gosh, I'm all out of ideas. And I was like, hey, what are some ideas to help market to chiropractors? And all of a sudden it gives me, a bunch of just thoughts and I can kind of run with it. I needed to respond to a whole bunch of reviews Google. And then, we took over a new client account, and instead of having to figure out what I'm going to write, I just said, hey, here's what the person said. Help me with a quick little 2-sentence response to the review. I mean, I would just put, probably the same 2 sentences on each one, which isn't as original, but now each time I plug in a new review and it outputs something for me. It's little things like that that are more of an assistant that is of like, it's not going to take anybody's job.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then basically, because I use it in it for just writing articles or posts, and it's like, it's basically I can come up with the idea and it comes up with it actually is the workhorse instead of, and now it can basically, I come up with the idea or it can help me come up with ideas, and it's really like 10x my output, and it's fascinating. And it's still early infant stages, so think about like 5 years when it's like compounding on all of this knowledge, and it's gonna be
there's so much money going into it right now because now it's a race. Right now it's who can create the best one, right? We see something that's good, but now there's a rush to see what's going to be the one. So big question.
Yeah, interesting. And so I like I said, I always love talking with tech entrepreneurs, tech leaders. And so how can people contact you, visit your website, follow you, reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm located at online, of course, iwantclarity.com, or you could just search Clarity Creative Group in the Google. Hopefully our map will show up. But I'm also focused on Twitter. So I Want Clarity is the handle on Twitter, and you can tweet us, DM us, message us. We're really happy to answer questions. We love geeking out like here on anything, tech, and happy to offer some free assessments, ideas, whatever people are looking for. If they just want, some opinion, second opinion, we're happy to share it. So
yeah, and so let's thank Dave for coming out to the show, providing a lot of valuable insights around tech, web SEO, UI, UX, AI, and be sure to follow him. He's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, as well as his website, I Want Clarity. All of these resources will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.